Buongiorno, my fellow Supreme Commanders. How are you all doing there? Today we've got a Sunday special, 1 versus 1. No idea why I'm calling it the Sunday special, because you know why, it's not even Sunday when I'm recording it, and it's a ranked 1 versus 1. I'm trying to keep those sort of things going down on a Sunday. Hope you're all doing very well, having a nice relaxing weekend for those of you that take the weekend off. Hope it's all going well, but let's jump on into today's game then. I'm going to try and get a little funky and creative with this one, because take a look at this. Over to the faction page. Let's see who we're going to have on either team. The plot thickens. And there's the result. It's a Seraphim Civil War. Can't get more exciting than that, can it? Guess I best put the versus symbol on as well to make that perfectly clear. All right then, let's come back on into... I'll tell you what, let's not waste any more time. Let's go jump on right on in. Absolutely. All right, Forged Alliance with the Total Annihilation music. Okay, let's unpause the game, introduce our players. Going down on the ladder, average rating today, 1666. So those of you that are a little stitious, best ask air traffic control for a new squawk code, only to be given 1313. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, do let us know in the comments section. I'll give you a little clue. There was a pilot that was literally given the squawk code 1666, and they requested air traffic control for a new one because they were a little superstitious, and ATC gave them the squawk code 1313. The squawk, of course, that little code being how air traffic control identify and separate the various aircraft from each other when they're looking at a radar screen. That aside, somebody's saying, look, don't give a damn anything about your air traffic control. We've got Forged Alliance going on. It's a 1 versus 1, and so absolutely couldn't agree more. Let's introduce our players then. Down on here, it's FiredPykan, not FriedPykan, but I'm sure that I'm going to slip up more than one time. A 1712 rated, as everyone in this game, or all 2 of them, is going Seraphim. 3 mass points, has got his land factory, not electing to get a 4th, instead going for the hydro. With his first 2 engineers, the 3rd one is going to cap off that 4th mass point. Over on the flip side, very similar build. We're just catching him grab his 4th mass extractor there. Is Glassy, 1621 rated. Very identical opening, more or less. Taking him a little longer to get his hydro because he used his commander to cap the 4th mass point rather than assist the build of the hydro. But the same first 2 engineers doing the hydro, and engineers 3 and 4 disappearing across the way. Looks like one of the engineers that went to build the hydro going off round the back of his base, capping these 2. A little bit of mass as well. Let's have a little look. 75 on the big rock, 38 apiece on the smaller rocks. Looks like he's grabbing 2 of those and then on towards the back to grab those mass points. All right, back to full view. Looks like FiredPykan sending his first aggressive unit down the mid, flanked with a scout. And give you a little idea on what these guys can see on this 10x10 map, Tiger Isle. Incidentally, I think when I can't remember exactly which one, but when I first did a cast on the Games with Brains channel, by the way, did a Beyond All Reason live cast on it as I recording this earlier this morning. Did that in 4K live stream to see, can the game play 4K? Can I even play it? And can it live stream? And the answer to all of that was yes. I managed to beat the easy AI. Are you proud of me? Yeah, that was me. In any case, back to the game at hand. So this is what they can see. And yeah, so one of the first games that I cast, I think on the Games with Brains channel before I decided to split Forged Alliance content off, was on this map. Anyway, back to global view, and we can see the first little engage is about to kick off. And look at that, very much 50-50, but because the combat scout was alongside FiredPykan. What would have been a very 50-50 engage was actually a 51-49 engage thanks to the Celine. And that just shows you, having intel there, I mean, granted, the damage output was very minor, but it's going to have the gun barrel of the tank pointing in the right way. It's going to grab it on intel, but I tell you what, Glassy there to blap it out the way in the nick of time, and just as well, because that would have had a successful run by at least grabbing that engineer. Nice little bombing run there from FiredPykan, grabs the engineer. Beautiful indeed. Scout over on the other side. No bomb, at least not yet. We've got transports out there from FiredPykan, dropping engineers, and that bomber returns back to the original spot to bomb a unconstructed mass point that then finds itself getting picked up. Is he going to get this last engineer? I think the answer is going to be yes. Does then get taken out, but I think those two, the most forward expanding engineers, well worth it. That said, transport here from FiredPykan's gotten picked up from Glassy with an interceptor that's got 52 hit points left. Already 3 kills to his name, and a hell of a lot of micro going down there. Oh my goodness. And somehow engineers survive. Not entirely sure. It seems to be almost a little bit random. Or is it when certain engineers fall on water on a transport that's not moving, they survive? Difficult to say, but notice this. FiredPykan wastes no time moving those engineers over. He builds a Navy shipyard, and shipyards get right underway with building Navy, and the engineers seem to be moving back towards land. That's exactly what they're doing. Factory first, oh so important, and then mass points second. And now looks like FiredPykan looking to return the favour, picks up a transport belonging to Glassy, swings his interceptors round to intercept, and Glassy's now turned to get creative. Stands the transport still. Is he going to be able to hang on to those engineers? And answer is no. And so Glassy says, of course, and yeah, I feel for him in what was basically an equal engage. One got to keep the engineers, the other didn't. And that is one of the very few times in this game where there's like a random kind of thing that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, despite it otherwise all being equal. And I'm not sure whether to call that a bug, a glitch, an exploit, or just simply bad luck. But whatever you want to call it, it happened to favour what's on paper already the stronger player, the 17-12 in blue. FiredPykan versus 16-21 Glassy there. AI rating, I don't know why, it seems to be either 100% or 93%, and this one was 93%. I've never seen, or I don't think I've seen anything in between, unless it's been ways lower. Not entirely sure who is responsible, although FiredPykan's forward artillery piece there was responsible for knocking out that point defense before then getting brushed aside by this little force from Glassy. Incidentally, guys, as always with these things, I never watch them ahead of time to check how it pans out. I just watch to a certain point to make sure that the game is going in a decent sort of direction. This is so cruel, the mobile artillery from Sarah, although there's I can't really feel bad for FiredPykan because he's Seraphim as well, so he can return the favour. He's got a frigate with 20 hit points, which is 1% of its health, and is able to deal with that Seraphim piece of artillery. Yeah, and so halfway through the check, the game was going really even indeed. Despite the unlucky initial transport there from Glassy, and despite Glassy's almost 100 rating points behind FiredPykan. Either way, perhaps a minor oversight there from FiredPykan. Had all his interceptors down here, not where you'd expect the transport to come from. And looks like he's sending his air in on a bit of a recon mission. And at this point is going to realize, oh shit, I had my air out of pause and my opponent has managed to land and begin setting up shop. Looks like FiredPykan here, trying to be greedy, sends a solitary NG over there. Look at this. Just 2 units from Glassy, 1 scout, 1 tank, and that is all it takes. Picks off the transport and the accompanying engineer. Just brilliant play. Taking a little look then in the middle, Glassy pushing forward into FiredPykan's territory with his commander. He does have a few units in tow. He does have 1 point defense to fall back to. And so, while on the face of it, this is kind of loose and fast aggression, he's also got a scout plane, so absolutely it is not loose and fast. He's playing actually extremely well, I have to say. He's aware of where the opposing commander is, thanks to this scout. And yeah, my only surprise is he didn't push with these units, having seen all of those engineers. Perhaps he was put off by that 1 point defense, but okay, yeah, it just seems to be tanks here. So if he can get 1 artillery piece over there. But yeah, look at this. Glassy's view pretty good. We've got a drop here. FiredPykan not wanting to give up here. This time just dropping in some tank units. And 1 artillery piece, 4 tanks, 1 artillery piece. I think Glassy's got more than enough there to deal with it, thanks in large part to this factory. And again, like a pro, is using the factory as a shield. He's got an inferior number of units, although they are now equal in number, 5 on 5. But the hiding behind the factory there is almost guarantees him the win. And there you can see that's gone very well for him. Again, your units shooting through your own factories. The opposing units shoot at the factory first if it's in the way, and your units second. And I have to hand it, at first glance in the middle, Glassy is by far looking the stronger here. His commander is well past the 50-way mark, and he has the larger number of units. Picks off a radar there belonging to the opponent. It's backing off a little bit. I'm wondering if that's more down to lack of intel or he's fearing some kind of a snipe. Always when you're at this level and you're pushing through and your opponent feels like they're folding a little too easily, it's always got to be on back of your mind. If they're folding this easy here, where are they spending their eco? Have I got an air snipe to worry about? Have I missed a factory? You know, what exactly is going on? It looks like FiredPykan looking particularly strong in the Navy just now. Glassy with 5 naval yards in the area. Does have a reasonable number of ships as well. Not using his Navy yard as shields this time, but perhaps with his superior numbers doesn't need to. That's going to leave him as a comfortable win there and a nice chunk of reclaim there. About 1,000 mass at this stage of the game. Yeah, so here we see the first gunship out from FiredPykan, and Glassy has got to be thinking, you know, there could have been more of those. Fighter bombers, anything. And yeah, at some point I think it's just a lack of APM, but at some point Glassy's got to realise that he's got none of the mass points on his side, literally none of them. FiredPykan with 1 frigate in the bay there, perhaps hoping to capture anything. And look at this, FiredPykan down to 2,100 hit points. He's been bullied off into the sea, a huge number of army. He gets a crucial rank of vet there. That puts him up to 3,000. And with some creative dancing was able to pick off some units. He's got a solitary gunship that's working away on some of Glassy's forward tech points, but Glassy, despite that unlucky opening, seems like he's going from strength to strength, but FiredPykan is determined to take this side off. Oh, and does he? Oh, just a moment too late. FiredPykan continuing to run ships up here, and the problem is Glassy didn't really seem to, you know, once he dealt with the situation, he didn't really seem to do much about it. Looks like he was trying to get a point defense online. It was almost there, but not quite. Just have a few units down here, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Glassy's going to have to put something else up there if he wants to hang on to that. It's going to be tight mind, but I think a little bit of a mistake there from FiredPykan to move away from the land factory before it was destroyed. I feel that was a mistake. Back to the middle, both ACUs are out the way. Looks like FiredPykan is taking out units trickling through reinforcing, which is a very good tactic indeed. And Glassy, this is just a beautiful Tech 1 army. Tanks and artillery pieces rolling forward. Moves the units back the other way, leaves a couple behind to finish the job. Again, this is all top tier stuff. Again, these players, you know, they're not much short of the pro rating, and yeah, as we maybe feared, Glassy losing the top island there, but it needs something to happen because it feels like down the middle everything's going Glassy's way. And FiredPykan again just moving around. Problem is, yeah, you can't stand there too much when you've got artillery raining in. Sometimes if you just blap in like one unit and you hear commander under attack, you assume that's what it is. Oh, it's close. I don't believe that was just luck. He was not paying attention. He was not microing. Less than 200 hit points on the commander. I'm sure if he'd have been paying more attention, they would have put a shift move and danced a little bit. Even if it was just a pre-planned dance. That was something I used to do an awful lot. Hold shift, you know, if you had to dance but you needed to do something else, hold shift, zigzag a bit and then do something else. The opposing player or team can't see or target your pre-planned moves. They don't know what they are unless you're just going in a straight line. And finally, FiredPykan looks like he can repel this attack from Glassy that he's pushed him all the way back. Looks like Glassy's been very busy doing that. He does have a couple of engineers working on capping off some of these mass points, but I think FiredPykan's going to be feeling a little bit better. At least he got the side island. Although he has been pushed all the way back, and Navy now becoming problematic for FiredPykan. Torpedo launchers, Tech 1, which is a very good counter to what's going on here. Submarine with 4 kills goes down. Oh, and then rolling artillery pieces. Yeah, FiredPykan has lost this. Did he just say it? No, it was just a land upgrade message. Yeah, that's FiredPykan has got major problems. He's lost it on the other side. 4 subs here from Glassy, which is just enough to deal with this situation. So I don't think Glassy's going to care much about losing this island. It's not like FiredPykan's got a presence up there. He's got a few tanks, but he's not able to set up shop. And at 17 minutes into the game, the underdog is looking incredibly strong. Despite that first drop, that's what blows my mind about this. He was very unlucky early on. And looks like FiredPykan is looking to now exploit his North Island, realises he's been pushed back, needs the mass. And who can blame him? He's on the brink of losing this down here, surely. And he's just about able to hold the front line. The problem is, the longer this goes on for, the more the economic advantage of having all of these mass points in the middle. How many have we got in this particular area? Difficult to count at first glance, but for at least 12 mass points, I think. Certainly 10. Oh, now Glassy giving Pekin a taste of the medicine with a dropship with artillery pieces. Sorry, tanks. They're all tanks. Terrible front being presented there by Glassy, despite having superior numbers, is then going to lose that engage. But at least it lets FiredPykan know, you know, 2 can play at that game. Glassy now going for Tech 2. He's in the drink. FiredPykan still very low on health. I guess he realizes I've been pushed all the way back. I'm going to have to tech up a little bit. The problem is he's got nothing to plug the front door. He's got these few units, and that seems to be it. I think it's just down to luck that Glassy doesn't have more units up front waiting to push in, because if he did, I mean, what's he got left to hold the line? A heavily damaged commander that is, you know, a few shots from death. FiredPykan now going for the Tech 3 land HQ. That could be what's needed. And he is able to secure the northern island. So both of the side islands belonging to FiredPykan. Although potentially the south one coming under contest. Well, it's just a few units, but... And Peter now with the gun upgrade is going to be much better at plugging this. Oh, it's a small gap for units to come through. And together with that next rank of vet, up to 5.5 on the health. I'm going to be feeling a little better about that. He's managed to take up some of his mass points. The problem is Glassy, having identified he completely dominates the Navy, is more than likely going to be producing cruisers. And there's the Tech 2 HQ. He's got a lot of assist on it. And Glassy is this time able to brush off the expansion from FiredPykan, who was upgrading his mass points to Tech 2. 93, 94, 95, 96, 7, 8, 9, and that is now a Tech 2 mass point. At least he's going to get a few seconds usage out of it before it goes down. So that was a negative investment there from FiredPykan. And Glassy, again, you know, is not sending a huge number of forces, just what he needs. And FiredPykan now having units rolling into his base, artillery pieces coming in, and I think he was very lucky that first volley didn't come into this spot here. Taking out instead a tactical missile defense. They did take out a Tech 2 mass point that was not capped off. And now picking off a Tech 2 engineer. Just wondering what's the plan over here. Oh, okay, the tactical missile launcher, indeed. What sort of range has that sucker got on him? Well, there's the answer. But FiredPykan was very quick to put another tactical missile defense on those mass points. He's got another one here. And so this may not be the best value TAC missile launcher ever. I guess it can pick off that Tech 1 land factory in the mid. But it's not going to be much more than that. And now, just as we were expecting, the Navy cruiser here, it's had somebody had a little stab at it. It's onto about a third of its health gone. But this particular thing is just going to put out lots of damage, and FiredPykan can't put tactical missile defense across the entire map. And there's already the second one. Yeah, I'm wondering now, what's FiredPykan got to be thinking of? At least he was able to push back the enemy in the mid. He's sending engineers out. What's his economic state? Well, he's not stalling en masse, and he does have access to some here. Still using his commander defensively when he's not firing into the side of a cliff. I'm not sure how many shots in a row that has been into the cliff side, but at least 20. Units about to push through and then backing off, which is kind of weird because there was nothing to back away from. Nice little drop there from Glassy, and look at what he's going for. The TAC missile defense. He didn't go for the mass points. And so if FiredPykan's paying attention, that says he's going for your TAC missile defense because he's got TAC missiles. It could, of course, be he's trying to soften up the ground for all these cruisers that are coming his way. And at this point, FiredPykan is in a situation where he's constantly trying to deal with what Glassy's throwing at him. And you can sort of get a little tunnel vision. Oh, I've got to chase this, plug this gap, deal with this drop, sort this out. There's some units running there. There's the Navy. And while you're constantly tied up trying to deal with these things, it basically allows the opponent a lot of free time to produce more and more stuff. In this example, it would appear to be that is going to be the cruiser. And the thing is, yeah, the Seraphim missile defense is pretty good, but only up to a point, right? I mean, it's just about, not quite, but just about dealing with 2 cruisers. There's a third one on its way. We can see there's a minor bit of damage to some of these. You see there, more defense is planned. Can't come soon enough. I always think a shield as well as tactical missile defense is handy. Tech 2 Air Factory goes down. Yeah, he needs more, to state the obvious, attack missile defenses. They're starting to collapse. He's pushing his commander forward. He's got a lightning tank with him, which is nice. He's got a couple of THAMs, and I think his only option right now is to be aggressive. The problem is, I'm not sure he's got quite enough to deal with it, and to be aggressive, you've at least got to have a base with the ability to give you energy for overcharge, and that base is starting to disappear. Here we see... there we go. The TAC missile defense. Yeah, need more of those. And looks like the Tech 2 Air HQ, down it goes. This has got to be a bit disheartening for FiredPykan, who was, again, 100 points ahead. And, 2 equal moves, and the roll of the dice went his way on the dropship. And as of right now, he's got nothing to show for it at all. Let's have a look what you can see. Well, there we are. Yeah, so it looks like each one of these TAC missile is 1 shot, 1 kill on the missiles incoming. But you can only keep that up for so long. Depends, is Glassy adding? Yeah, he is. Look, it's just adding more and more cruisers into the mix. It's just not sustainable to cover an entire base with tactical missile. It's not possible to do. It's just going to cost more and more eco. At this point, FiredPykan, he has to think outside. It's very difficult because, again, you're so task saturated in trying to defend your base. But you need to think, if I have any chance of winning this, I need to think of something else. I can't just spend my time trying to bat away the attacks that the opponent is giving me. I need to think of some way to get to him. Is there some way where he hasn't covered? Is he somewhere vulnerable? He hasn't realized. I mean, I'm not sure that he has any clue where he... I mean, I don't think he's got any way of knowing that there is the commander. In fact, it's not. It's the engineer. Huge numbers here of TAC missiles, and the land HQ is about to go down. Tech 3, down it goes. He is building more and more TAC missile defense, but those TAC missiles are going to destroy that wreck, and it looks like FiredPykan knows it, and he's trying to reclaim it to get as much mass as he can out of it. He loses another capped off mass point. Yeah, this is horrific. This is like watching a car crash in slow motion. He's finally got something to shoot back with in some way, shape or form. one Tech 2 artillery piece. And he's got engineers reclaiming the submarines here. It's got one mobile artillery piece. Not sure what it bagged itself. Another one over here with 7 kills. This could get decent value, actually. There we go. One of the cruisers going down. One of them had already been taken out. That is going to please FiredPykan if he's aware of it. Looks like Glassy finally aware of the situation. Pulls out. I think the damage has been done, and these 4 are out of range, just continuing to break through. More attack missiles in base there. It feels very much like a missile versus TMD war at the minute, and I think Glassy is recognizing that he is winning that. Problem is, again, for FiredPykan, it frees up Glassy, whose base has been completely unmolested, to get something else there ready and waiting. FiredPykan did manage to hang on to one solitary mass extractor. I don't think Glassy's gonna let him keep that now. Deals with the tank. And now these cruisers are moving around. This side that had no defense, FiredPykan recognizes the weakness, tries to spam tactical missile defense ASAP. This artillery piece still firing. It does pick off the frigate. He's got multiple pieces of artillery, which really is his only way of hitting back at the Navy right now. As well as these mobile pieces of artillery that are very... If any of these missiles start landing, they're going to be very vulnerable to these missiles. It looks like, at least for now, they're not doing. Multiple rounds landing does pick off at least one of them. And I really thought FiredPykan was going to lob in the towel, but it feels like he has actually managed to deal with those cruisers in a net positive situation. There was at least 7 or 8 of them attacking his base a little while ago, and despite continuous refreshments pouring in from Glassy, there's only 4 of them left here. The one that was trying to run away over here goes down, and yeah, FiredPykan is beginning to get back into it. I think he's now got enough tactical missile defense on his base to deal with what's left. And providing he can keep these mobile artillery pieces alive, which are doing the Lord's work for him. More frigates going down there. I'm not sure if they've got the splash damage to take damage onto these subs. That was close. And he's been able to expand down the middle thanks to this large number of siege tanks. And while Glassy's moving in with his ACU, he's got nano repair gun and he's a Tech 2. That's dangerous versus this. FiredPykan's got the gun and nano repair as well. And Glassy, I think he's playing a little loose, and I think he realizes it there. He turns round. You know, for somebody who's certainly got the upper hand on the game at this moment in time, you don't want to risk throwing your commander up front. I mean, for goodness sake, we've had enough of those games lately where a team had all but won and then doesn't. That's why I have to sometimes throw in a game where, not that I know the outcome anyway, but even if I record one and it's like, oh, the team that starts to win then goes on to win the game. Because if I don't do that, if every single game is a comeback, then people are going to know, oh, well, that's what's going to happen every time. And I don't think that's the best, you know, the way to go about things. Nice overcharge there from Glassy. Grabs 2 of the siege tanks. FiredPykan in a nice position there. If he can put some overcharges in here. That one unfortunately didn't go quite where I was hoping. And I don't believe it, he's actually running out of siege tanks, despite what I thought was Glassy's inferior number of high tech units. I just think Glassy got some real nice overcharges in on high-value units. FiredPykan desperately trying to throw some point defense together. Problem is he's got tactical missiles raining in from the cruisers. And FiredPykan relegating to fighting from underneath the shield with nothing much left to defend. I'd like to see him get his Otham siege tanks underneath the shield to prevent the commander's overcharge from having an effect. Throwing artillery away like that, it's just not got the APM to deal with. No, don't put your siege tanks outside of this shield. It's the only thing. At this point, I think FiredPykan has got to abandon ship and run away. It's got too much bearing down, and Glassy on full health is at some point going to realise that FiredPykan's got nothing much left. Shield goes down, doesn't die, has a mobile shield in place, and that is going to be just enough while it blinks back on. FiredPykan, stay under your shield. I mean, by all means, you yourself go out, but stay near the shield. Keep your Tech 3 under the shield. Every time you came out of your shield there, Glassy got an overcharge and was able to pick off numerous Tech 3. I don't know why, without just specifically watching that, but Glassy got such good value with his commander there. He had so much Tech 1 spam with him that was basically obsolete, but it tied up so many shots belonging to FiredPykan, and it just allowed Glassy to pick and choose targets of opportunity. Played it like a master, really. He really did. Still dominating Navy, but FiredPykan's base looking much more comfortable than it was 10 minutes ago. Looks like he's walled it off. He's even Tech 3 mass pointing up, the most exposed of the mass points on the side of his base there. Same happening on the other side, so he must be feeling comfortable. And he's now marching forward with a wall of the artillery pieces that were initially used to defend his base. Problem is, he's still eating shots from the side from this cruiser. Does he know where it is? Well, he does. I think that would be a prime target. If that was me, I'd be targeting this cruiser, knowing that it's just going to continuously put missiles in, that not much I can do about it. And again, Glassy just playing a little loose for me. He's ahead. He doesn't need to be throwing his commander so far forward of his forces. And now it's FiredPykan's turn, who's throwing his commander forward. And he's gone way too far forward. He's bitten off way more than he can chew. A massive, massive mistake there. And that's how quick it could all be over. That could have so easily gone the other way there, with Glassy having done the same. Very well played, both players. FiredPykan, you got outplayed. The lower rated player there, and I'm still blown away, guys, by the loss of the transport, and then the fact that he was able to bulldoze down the middle. And it's only in the last 5 minutes that FiredPykan was able to come back out. He took control of Navy. He kept control. He completely destroyed the economic structures in FiredPykan. The last 10 minutes, FiredPykan has basically been repairing economic structures that were taken out by the cruisers for a large percentage of the time. Prior to that, all his build capacity was working on protecting against the missiles. And so basically, Glassy there buying about 15 minutes, I would say, of game time against FiredPykan, and made him pay. And so until next time, make sure you like the video, and wherever in the world you may be, take care. Ta-ra!